This is one of the most problematic movements in most people's golf swings. And it could be something that you're missing out on, because to close the face, you're probably doing something very different. And that's probably throwing in a lot of interference in the golf swing, potentially affecting your speed, your low point, your strike, club path. It's affecting lots of things just because we can't close the face. And guess what? It's one of the things that the tour players that we see on the TV week in, week out do way earlier than we do. We're missing this. It's a missing component. We're trying to close the face down here. And these guys are closing the face up here, way earlier, in the change of direction and in the early downswing. These guys are already doing all the work with the closure of the face, so they don't have to do it all down here. So they can let the levers go, and there's not an excessive demand on the system to square the face, which then introduces some big compensatory motions, throwing lots of noise into the release pattern at the bottom, just where we don't want it, where we want it to be nice and quiet and clean and just stable. And it's suddenly, whew, all this variability happening so fast in a split second, it's unrecognisable, unnoticeable. We're looking at a shot and we don't even feel how we've produced it. We've got no connection to it. Well, we've got to reconnect with the shot. We've got to create the conditions to allow us to just freewheel the swing and actually recognise where we are in space. Once the motion becomes more efficient, we get a more recognisable feedback loop. We can start to feel where these things are in space. If I just swing the club head here, I can feel the club head swinging. Start to swing the arms a little bit more, now I can feel my arms swinging. Start to rotate the body, now I can feel my shoulders and ribcage rotate. But if I'm doing everything all at once at speed, I don't know what's moving and when. So I might be moving in a way that's really just giving me no opportunity to develop long term, because I've got no feedback loops to actually attach and connect a feeling to that I can actually recognise and repeat. So this exercise I'm going to show you first was something I did in a lesson the other day, and it had a profound effect, to be honest. His impact was like this. And he said, I've never really compressed a ball. I've never really got a ball turf contact, and it's something we hear a lot, as you know from watching the channel, I'm sure. His golf club is used to doing this, and he wanted to do this to try and hit down. In order to do that, it's a very different journey the club is taking. The handle is travelling down, it's rotating, you can see, and then it's going up and rotating, and the club head finally strikes the golf ball. But notice where this is travelling. It's travelling down excessively compared to what we're probably normally feeling, and then it starts to travel up and it's rotating, and we've got this late anti-clockwise rotation, as opposed to that happening here to try and close the face. Often it's happening here, which produces this. It creates a very early low point, lots of dynamic loft, all those things we don't want, a rising leading edge, lots of problematic movements that we've got to somehow control with tension then, as opposed to rotating the face. But it's not just a case of rotating the face. We've got to create an opportunity to rotate the face. So there's two exercises here, which are going to open up the opportunity for you to release in a much more consistent fashion. The first thing is to actually just feel the swing weight. Okay, just let the club swing. We don't need to action any kind of force on the handle early. We've just got to let it fall. Otherwise we're creating excessive torque too early, and it throws the swing. Can you see it's throwing the club out there as opposed to just letting it drop? Once we've got a free falling action, and I suggest you do this with your lead hand on the club, and just let the golf club drop. With this dropping action, shift your attention to the butt end of the handle and focus on that, and just let that shift, and then let the club drop. So you're just letting the club fall, and all you're doing is moving the handle in space. And we've got a leading edge being presented to the ground. Having a few goes at that, just letting the club swing up and fall, and just let the club bottom out under its own weight. And now we're de-lofting the golf club, and we're letting the handle travel forward. Most people don't let the handle travel forward for long enough before it starts rotating. So it's the rotation of the handle that's throwing the club forward too early, instead of letting your movement with the handle bring the club around and down. Just explore recognising the journey of the handle. So we've got a downward angle of attack, de-lofted club, ball turf contact. It's all good. And then with both hands. Now this had a big effect on his swing and the look of it. He went from this to this. And this is only a short shot. So how often do you practice your short game? How often are you practicing chipping and pitching? I guess you go to the range or practice on the course. But how often do you practice your short game? Because it's the short game that can offer you an insight into the feelings, the very fine feelings that underpin these movements, which underpin that much higher level of awareness of where we are. So we can heighten our sense of feel, which elevates our level of awareness, which improves our movement acuity, the precision. Here, just letting the club swing up and just let it drop. And just feeling this alone provides an opportunity for us to expand on with the full swing. So just playing 15-yard shots, chip and runs, pitch and runs, check release shots, which essentially these are, de-lofting, and you can see there's a natural lag. I'm not trying to create lag, I'm just swinging it up and letting the handle move and let the club drop. Club drops. This is an effortless action, it's an effortless fall, but because we've orientated ourselves forward, the low point is now forward of where the ball would be, you're catching the ball on the way. Now this is not a hinge and hold. I see this a lot. And this movement is not going to be transferable with a full swing because we've got to release the club. So often you'll see people who can chip and run pretty well, but then they get further from the green, they need some speed. Now they have to use the leverage, they've got to use the body, and suddenly the early release kicks in and it's a completely different action. You're seeing two different players. We've got to find that effortless release that's not constraining us. There's no tension here. So when I go to a full swing, I can still apply this same tensionless lever system, which is going to enable me to use my body in a more efficient way. So how do we then transfer this into the full swing? If you love the coaching and want to experience the effects of the training that you see with our pupils, you can purchase the GRFI system yourself by following the link in the video description. You'll get all the equipment and a 2-hour download covering all the fundamentals, exploring your movement and how you can use the ground and create those all-important ground reaction forces and transfer them through to clubhead speed and experience the gains that you're seeing in the videos. Well, now we've got to go into a bigger motion. We've got to sense the rotation of the club. Here we've got a lag. We've got the clubhead lagging, which is now giving us an opportunity to rotate the club while it's in a lagged state, so that we don't have to do as much at the bottom. So feeling the rotation of the shaft, sensing that plane of motion is really important. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to use the toe deep divot. So taking the club with the lead hand, all we're going to do is just rotate the club. So it's just like a motorbike handle, and hold the club here and do it. And just actually move the club down and just feel that rotation of the handle. You could actually start here, and as you swing down, just rotate. So you can actually feel what it's like to rotate a club face while it's behind you. Now, that's only to explain it. We're not actually going to use that focus of attention to create a movement because that's far too technical and explicit. That's just to recognise what might be happening on some level. We want this to happen naturally. So we're going to toe the club head into the floor. So using the toe with the lead hand, just let the toe dig into the floor behind you. Notice how far behind my right foot it is. And when I actually stop in the ground here, notice where the hand is. It's opposite the left thigh. It's opposite my lead thigh. So that's the kind of space. We don't want this happening. You might find you do this at first because you're so used to early releasing. Here we're rotating the club and you can see there's quite a powerful impact. The leading edge is digging in, got a leading edge into the floor, and look how far forward the lead hand is. Then try this with both hands. And then move that divot forward. So gradually keeps making that divot and shift it forward on the arc. Keep rotating the face to the centre of your stance. So it's here. You can see the arc's working away from me, incrementally shifting that divot forward, but the toes still dig in, and we've got a rotating face to that arc. In reality, that should create a draw, and you can have a go. I'd suggest you do just half a swing, letting the face rotate. and just feeling that rotation. So the ball should come out lower than normal because we're de-lofting the face. If you're doing it correctly, even though you're rotating the face, because you're striking down and you've got lag, you might find the ball goes straight. It's not hooking because you're not using that release. You're actually leading with the handle. And you get a strike there that's in the middle. So you've got the strike there, a bit higher up the face because you're striking down and closing it. And allowing the club to continue to rotate. Not hitting and stopping. Let the club continue to rotate. So it's going to probably, to you, feel like the club face is pointing somewhat to the ground. So we've got a feel of the toe deep, and then we can start to expand that into a fuller swing. 3/4 swings, and just starting to feel some rotation of the club. Now there's lots of different ways to generate these feelings, and as you know, we use lots of different exercises. And a Frisbee, or if you've got something like a paper plate, something like this that you can hold and throw without damaging anything, it's going to really help you get a feel for the timing of this. Taking my normal lead hand grip, I'm just going to swing it back. And then I'm going to Frisbee this, but not forward, because it's not a throw. I mean this, if I was to throw this as a Frisbee, look what it's doing to my body movement. It's throwing me back. This is not what we want in a golf swing. This is me leaning back, bringing the low point back, shifting the swing circle this way. I'm potentially going to be left through impact. We're swinging a golf club, not throwing. But yet we can use the kinetic chain of throwing, but that way. So it's not really skimming. Yes, that can help create movements, but we're going down into the floor. It's on an incline. So here we've got to throw this down. And I want you to rotate it and throw the Frisbee into the floor just in front of where the ball would be. And notice what the hands had to do. And the forearm, it's had to rotate. But to do that, it had to rotate quickly here, but it started rotating early. So we can make a bigger swing. Just like in a golf swing, the wrist is hinging. And then Frisbee this into the floor where the ball would be. Turn the body if you like now. Start to bring in more of a swinging action. And then Frisbee. Then, with both hands, have a practice swing. But I'd suggest if you've got the opportunity to do this on the grass, take a divot with it. And you're going to feel quite a different sensation. And then without delay, get a ball and have a shot. Freewheeling. And I can see my divots to the right, face is closing a little bit, and it's just the start. It's going to let me start to get a little bit more purposeful with my shot. And that's about as good as I can hit it really there. Perfect draw, nice flowing action. I'm only 2 reps into that exercise, but it's something that resonates. And again, that's the purpose of these different varied exercises, finding something that resonates with you in terms of a feeling. Not every exercise suits everybody. So exploring all these different variations is an opportunity for you to tap into the feeling that resonates with you, that unlocks the pattern. And then suddenly the rest of the body responds, the rest of the chain now starts to self-optimize. You've tapped into those missing components. And the biggest missing component that we see day in, day out is the rotation about the shaft, i.e. club face rotation. And it's this that could make the biggest difference to your game.